Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Call to order the regular meeting and agenda of the Miami Special Utility Authority for Tuesday, March the 19th, 2013 at 6 p.m. here in the Miami Civic Center, filed in the office of the city clerk and posted in the main lobby and the north outside entryway of the Miami Civic Center at 3 p.m. on March the 15th, 2013. The trust may discuss, consider, and vote on any item listed in this agenda. We're called to order. Item number 2 is the consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing board. They will be approved by one motion of the Miami Special Utility Authority. The items on the consent agenda will not be discussed. Any member of the governing board desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed in its proper order on the regular agenda. Any member of the governing board can also move to add items from the regular agenda to the consent agenda and make one motion and vote to approve. Gentlemen, we have items A, B, and C.
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second, Mayor.
Mr. Tressler.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Sharbit.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye. All ayes. The consent agenda has been approved. Number 3 items, public input and unscheduled personal appearances. Any public input at this time? Being none, we will move to item 4, approve and authorize the chairman's signature on the feasibility study and analysis contract for broadband engineering services between ACRS LLC of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and the Special Utility Authority. Jeff and David Roundtree.
I'll let David talk about the particulars of the contract, but let me introduce the subject. Fiber to the home is becoming a mainstay in many communities across the country. It's very similar to the actual extending of copper wires to houses when telephones were first brought out. The purpose behind this study is to give us a base cost estimate on what it would cost to run fiber to each individual home, so that we can start looking at pro forma analysis on what the potential business opportunities are. This is not a feasibility analysis to determine whether or not the city should be in the business of providing a service, but whether or not the city should look at providing infrastructure. One of the things that's appealing to us about this is that if we had fiber to each individual home, we would be able to then to tie that into our metering system, kind of put us into a smart grid type situation. So David's been working on this for me, and I'll let him address the specific proposal and the company and a little bit about the analysis work.
Well, Jeff pretty much has summed everything up in 5 minutes, and you know it'll take me a lot longer than that, but I'll go ahead and do it. Basically, what we with this, the idea is today we can get up to 50 megabytes, megabits of speed to the house now from the people within our franchise that are franchised with the city right now, and that's at a residential or business or whatever. We know that today we now have high definition TVs, and people are already starting to stream in. That means continuously running in the high definition into the houses. With multiple TVs, there's multiple uses of it. And within 3 years, the industry thinks that the high definition will go up 4 times, have 4 times the clarity that it has today. And with that, it'll take 4 times the bandwidth to get it back into your house. The idea with this whole thing is fiber to the house is the only way that you'll be able to get 1 gigabyte with today's technology now. Maybe somebody will come out with something over the air that will happen in 10 years. Is the only way that you can get 1 gigabyte to the house. And gigabit. I'm going to use that word and I'll mess it up, but I want to keep it clear. We were straight on it already. But where the issue comes in is without fiber to the house, nobody right now has fiber to the house. It's just not been done. We talked about it, and if it's going to be done within the city, at some point in time, we will be talking about, in the long-range plan even, smart grids. There's several cities right now that are doing smart grids. Right now also, Google Google Internet has gone to Kansas City and has put fiber to the house and running 1 gigabit speeds. They're even actually competing very well with 50 megabits now, and they're at $70 a month is what that costs. To get something like that from a provider such as RecTech to a big business, that would be probably in the neighborhood of $300 to $400 a month today. But the goal is to do that. With this, we will be able to go to, let's say, the electric meter, hook up to the electric meter. From that, it would communicate to basically water meters, both water meters. And so I searched the area and found three engineering services that were PEs. That's the first requirement that I had. It had to be professional engineering services. There's a lot of people that do studies that are not professional engineers. Anyway, there are 3 in Kansas City, there are 4 in Dallas, and there were 2 in Oklahoma City. One of which I knew of. It's called Monty Lee Company in Oklahoma City. Tried twice to get a hold of them. They, for some reason, didn't answer the phone. Then I called a company by the name of ACRS. At the time, didn't know them very well. I didn't know them at all. But come to find out that they had they met the criteria we were looking for, and essentially it's in the recommendation or the information up there that we sent to you. What we wanted is an engineering firm that will do a feasibility study on putting this into the city of Miami. That's 181 miles of electric line that we have, but they'll be on those poles, and running it into up to 10,000 homes, what that cost will be. The next one is a pro forma on the financial part of that whole thing. What's it going to cost us to do something like that? And then they will do a subscriber and revenue projections for us. The idea that we would have is we wouldn't sell broadband services or compete against like AT&T or Cable One. We would lease this to an ultra high speed company that would provide that type of service. They would produce this. Our goal is to have the infrastructure, our own infrastructure on our poles that we can use for our own use. But essentially, the company that we went out for or talked to was ACRS. They've been in business since 1987. They have done several projects and are the first engineering firm to do fiber to the house in the state of Oklahoma. They have systems as small as 50 homes and as large as 15,000 homes of engineering services that they did for them. The other main criteria that I looked at is if we decide to go ahead, we'll either have to get grants and or loans to do some of this. They are instrumental in procuring grants from the federal government. And in fact, in 2009, they did more grants than any other engineering firm in the United States. And also in 2011, out of the 24 applications that were put out that RUS approved, they had 18 of them. They had done 18 of them. Besides being in Oklahoma City right now, they also were selected by RecTech, which is in Veneta there, to do their $100 million build out into the rural areas. They're doing essentially the same thing. And with that, they're going to build an office they'll have an office in Veneta. So these are some of the reasons that we went with ACRS. Any questions?
And so do we have a cost for the study?
$6,000 firm price, no additional costs, which is about $4,000 less than I thought it was going to be.
And this is a professional services contract?
Yes, sir. It's a professional engineering services. And David and I went through the contract, made some changes, sent it back to them, and they accepted it, and we're good with the contract.
And the time to complete the study?
90 days or less.
David, do you have any comments on this?
No, sir, that was accurate. We reviewed it. I don't remember what all the changes were, but they were just to make sure we weren't exceeding our lawful authority and were in legal compliance. And as Dave says, they accepted the amendments.
This reads to approve the signature of the feasibility study.
Okay.
No further discussion? I'll move to accept it.
Second.
Mr. Charbot?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Catcher?
Aye. With all ayes, number 4 is passed. Item 5, automotion of solid waste, residential and commercial routes. Tyler Klein.
Your Honor, your meeting has 5 minutes left before I have to start the city council meeting. I don't think Mr. Klein will be able to get his presentation done in 5 minutes, so you might want to,
Going to recess this regular session.
you can either recess or you can move on to the next item. I'm not sure what the next item is.
Is this also
In-kind
part of the council
services.
meeting, the presentation, or was it only part of this?
No, it was only part of this.
In-kind services.
In-kind services, I can do that in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Well, I think 3 minutes or so, we're going to have to stop this special utility authority meeting, recess it, so we can go into the regular city council meeting. So do we need to vote on a recess or just call a recess?
Do we have time to take the citizens on item number 8?
I don't think so.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Chairman, it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to recess and reconvene following the city council meeting, if that's the intent.
Make a motion to recess, Mayor.
Second.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Charbot?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Chairman Catcher?
Aye. Stand recessed at 6:12. Call to order the regular meeting and agenda of the Miami City Council for Tuesday, March the 19th, 2013 at 6:15 p.m. here at the Miami Civic Center. Filed in the office of the city clerk and posted in the main lobby in the north outside entryway of the Miami Civic Center at 3:45 p.m. on March the 15th, 2013. The council may discuss, consider, and vote on any item listed in this agenda. We are called to order. We have the pastor for the First Presbyterian Church, Helen Hutchinson, here tonight for our prayer, and if you'll remain standing, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening.
Good evening. Please join me in prayer. Oh, holy God, as we gather here this evening, we know that we approach your most holy week when you not only tell but show of the extent of your love for us. And we give thanks for that love and just ask that you be in this meeting tonight, that you will give guidance and direction and strength and support to all who are here to do the work of your people in this place. And we lift this up in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor.
Oh. David, you have an item to pull from the consent.
Item 4, citizens' input and unscheduled personal appearance. Is there any citizen input this evening? None. Item 5, consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing board. They will be approved by one motion of the Miami City Council. The items on the consent agenda will not be discussed. Any member of the governing board desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed in its proper order on the regular agenda. Any member of the governing board can also move to add items from the regular agenda to the consent agenda and make one motion and vote to approve. Gentlemen, we have items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. We're going to pass on that. There'll be no action. It'll be set for probably the next council meeting. J, K, and L.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve items A through L with the exception of item I, which I would move to table.
Second.
Councilman Schultz,
Aye.
Councilman Charbit,
Aye.
Councilman Tressler,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye. That has passed, all those as listed. And I'm sorry, I just had information that somebody wanted to speak on the citizens' input. Somebody want to speak?
My apologies, sir, I misunderstood.
Put that down as a mark against it.
All right.
Okay.
It's going to be a long list today.
Gentlemen, here I'd like to move item 12, if it's all right with you. That's the mayor and council of community announcements. We have a lady here that would like to do an NEO proclamation, and I'd like to see that done, and she can move on out of here. Is there any objection to that? Okay. Jennifer Hessig, would you step forward, please? And you have something to read to us?
I do. I'm requesting a proclamation. We're going to celebrate our Founders Day celebration next Friday, and as part of those festivities, we want to name our band hall in honor of the late Doc Swanson and Virginia Swanson. So I have a proclamation here. Whereas Mayor Kent Ketcher and the Mima City Council believe it is important to recognize citizens who distinguish themselves by various means and who have made significant contributions in our community, and whereas the Mima City Council believes that the late Robert Swanson and Virginia Swanson are such individuals worthy of being recognized for their significant contributions to this community. And whereas Robert and Virginia Swanson have provided support and leadership on the Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College campus, as well as throughout the city of Miami in various civic and charitable organizations, and whereas Robert Swanson began his career at NEO A&M College in 1955, where he taught instrumental music, music harmony, theory, and was director of the Golden Norse Band for 31 years. And whereas Robert Swanson's passion for music and the band program at NEO was shared by his wife Virginia and children Robin and Mark, and together they spent countless hours as a family traveling to football games and attending performances to support the Golden Norse Band. And whereas Robert Swanson retired from NEO in 1985 and remained active on campus and in the community by giving music lessons to college students and community members, forming the NEO String Quintet, conducting the sanctuary choir of the First United Methodist Church, and directing the Singing Methodist Men. And whereas Virginia Swanson continues to be a steadfast supporter of NEO A&M and is a member of the President's Partners, charter member of PEO, Chapter EJ in Miami, member of the Friends of the Coleman, and supporter of the Miami Arts and Humanities Council. And whereas Robert and Virginia Swanson have made significant contributions to this community in the form of giving of their time, energy, talents, and love for music, which will inspire area residents and NEO students and faculty for generations, and that they are deserving of being recognized. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Kent Ketcher and the Miami City Council do hereby declare Friday, March 29th, 2013, as Robert and Virginia Swanson Day within the city of Miami. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Miami, Oklahoma, to be affixed on this 19th day of March in the year of our Lord, 2013.
So ordered, be happy to sign it.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And thank you for NEO. Okay.
Mayor, can I make an announcement here?
Yes.
On this item? My understanding, somebody in staff wanted me to say that the new website will be on Wednesday night at midnight, I believe. I know Mike worked hard on that, and we appreciate it.
Your Honor, just for the public's viewing pleasure, we can cut to the new website just real quickly if they push the button. There it is. Anybody who's ever done anything by committee understands and appreciates what a remarkable thing it is to actually have something come out of a committee structure. And this is the website.
Looks good. Scott, what do you think?
I think Mike and the staff did an excellent job.
They did.
It was a mountain to move, and they did it bucket by bucket.
Well, let's give old Mike and all those staff members a round of applause. Okay, any other community announcements to be made by you gentlemen? If there are none, we will then go to item 6, resolution for Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, direct deposit and indemnity letter. Jeff?
Your Honor, just quickly, this is a housekeeping item. We missed this one last week. This allows us actually to handle the direct deposit for the retirement system.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Tressler.
Aye.
Councilman Charbot.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye. All ayes. Number 6 is passed. 7, authorize mayor's signature and ordinance amending ordinance 1603 to correct Scrivener errors within the ordinance. Jeff?
Yes, sir. Again, another housekeeping item. We inadvertently left out the age requirement for the early retirement window. This corrects that error.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Schultz, or Charbot.
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Tressler.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye. All ayes. Item 7 is passed. Item 8, authorize mayor's signature on contract with Don Paddock Enterprises to conduct a municipal pool study for $16,000. Mrs. Kim Horn. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Gentlemen, in December, we sent out a request for qualifications looking for a firm to conduct an extensive study of our pool. We had 2 that came back. One was Donald Paddock Enterprises. The other was WTI. WTI is out of Dallas. Donald Paddock Enterprises is out of Oklahoma City. And they have done extensive work for all of the Oklahoma state parks. After evaluating both of these and calling multiple references, we decided to go with Donald Paddock. And what you have in your packet is his contract he submitted. If you do sign this tonight, he can be here within 7 to 10 business days. We'll be on site for about 2 to 3 weeks. What we will get in turn is an extensive looking at our ADA compliance, looking at our Oklahoma Public Bath Code compliance, just an overall extensive view of our whole structure. We will test all the piping, all the facilities. He will come back with a recommended long-term maintenance plan and also what it would cost if we wanted to build a new facility, if we decided to possibly go that way depending on what we find. This has been a long time in the making. I think there's been a lot of discussion about the pool over the years, but this is a chance for us to really know, it was built in 1930, updated in the 70s. Last improvement was in 2006. So we're looking forward to getting the results of this and seeing what we actually have.
So is he an engineer?
He is not. This firm has been in his family for 75 years. He has an engineer on staff that he's used on multiple projects. One of the facilities that he did was Grove. If you've ever seen their pool, he's done multiple studies like this of older facilities.
But he has an engineer.
Yes,
on
on
staff.
staff that will, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And, we checked into all of that to make sure. This is who we felt was the most qualified for the expense. It actually came in about $5,000 less than I thought it would.
David, do you have any
No, sir.
comments?
No.
Jeff, do you have any?
No, sir. Just wanted to kind of emphasize a couple points that Kim had pointed out. One is that it's routine for municipalities to have these types of examinations of their pools because there's such a potential for liability, and it is good to have it looked at every so often. Second, we're asking them to provide us with an alternative for budgeting purposes on a replacement facility, and the reason for that is because, as we all know, the pool is adjacent to the floodplain, and as we are attempting in our efforts to get GRDA to acquire flowage easements, we want to make sure that we have an alternative available in the event that that facility is acquired in the future. Secondly, when we look at what the costs of repairing the facility in anticipation that those costs may be very high, it's good to have an alternative to look at. So that's the main reasons behind the study.
I do have,
Go ahead.
thank you, sir. I notice on scope of work, B, subparagraph 1, second bullet, play structures, slides, playground equipment. Will they be taking a look at the slides? We had some safety concerns this past summer.
He's going to, but we are actually going to have the manufacturer of the slide come. I spoke with her today. We're trying to get that scheduled
Okay.
and take a look at our slide and do an extensive report for us. Make some suggestions on maybe some things we could do better. So that's separate from this, but
Okay,
he
that was
will
my
also
question.
take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kim, do you know whether there's ever been a pool study? Yeah.
There was, because we applied for a land and water conservation grant. It's been, I think, about 10 years ago, which we didn't receive. I did find in the engineering files at that time, there was, not to this extent, but there was a study done. I mean, this is pretty extensive. This will give us a clear picture of everything that any issues we have. And plus, you know, if we do decide to stay with the pool and not go for a new facility, we need a long-range maintenance plan, which we really haven't had in the past. Address the specific issues we have, and then yearly start doing what we need to do to take care of those. So really, it depends on what we find from this study.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
No, I think it's a small price to pay for what the information we're gonna get, frankly. So, we need to have a better handle on what's going on at that facility structurally.
We need a motion? Motion to approve?
Second.
Councilman Sharbit,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz,
Aye.
Councilman Tressler,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Catcher.
Aye. All ayes. Item 8 has passed.
Thank
Item
you.
9, thank you, Kim. Authorize city manager to sign a check not to exceed $20,000 for 2013 American Legion Major State Baseball Tournament bid bond.
I'm not Amanda. My name is Shannon Thomas, and I'm with the CVB. I'm the sports coordinator. And as you have in your packet, we found out last week we have the opportunity to bid on the American Legion Majors tournament, which Bartlesville held for years. And somehow they didn't get it last year and it went to Oklahoma City. And they've re-upped it for bid this year. And we do a direct and indirect. And it shows that the direct income, we get the gate and we get concessions. And it's broke down for you that, you know, if you have 588 visitors at $4 for the gate, you're looking at a $2,300 per day and times 5, and it's going to be $11,000 direct income for the city. And the concessions on the same, you got 588 at $2 a concession times 5 days, you're looking at almost $5,800. And it'd be a good economic situation for the city to be able to get that tournament here.
Questions, gentlemen?
After talking to Jeff today, the bid has to be within 2 weeks.
April 1st is the deadline on the
April
bid.
1st.
And this bid is just, this approval is just up to, it's not necessarily the bid.
No, sir.
No.
No, and let me explain why we're doing that, because this is a competitive situation. We're literally putting in a bid, and in order not to show our cards, so to speak, to the other bidders, by authorizing up to 20, it does not necessarily mean we're bidding 20. It will be much less than 20, but we didn't want to publish our bid before we submit it, because somebody else could just simply make it for one. If you ever watch Price is Right, somebody might bid $1 more, and then we're in a losing situation. So we included in the packet what last year's bid was. We're asking for a ceiling on it. Even if we did bid the whole ceiling, our analysis indicates that there's still a substantial amount of money above and beyond that could be brought back to the community.
Is there just one bid, or is there two, you get to go back?
It's one bid.
One seal bid?
One seal bid, and once we find out if we get it or not, they return all the money if we don't get it. And then once we find out we get the bid, they cash the check. And you know, it's usually an 8-team tournament with 18 kids per team, and you have 3 coaches. And last year they actually had an 11-team tournament, so there's more money there than the 8 teams. So it could be anywhere from 8 to 11, possibly 12, just depending on how many teams are involved in it. And actually, if we host it, our local Legion team, which we don't have right now, but I talked to Chris Mercer, their coach, today, and he said they could actually even play in it because they get an automatic bid to play in the hosted tournament. Your local team does.
Be great.
Motion to approve?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman, Sharbutt.
Aye.
Councilman Tressler.
Aye.
Mayor Catcher.
Aye. All ayes.
Your Honor, just quickly, I'd just like to let you know Shannon is also known as Mr. Clogger.
Logger.
You're welcome
I'd
to
like
ask
see
him
that.
what that stands for.
We have a clogging competition coming in to the Coleman in June, and it'll bring the organizations out of North Carolina, and it's going to bring teams from, they actually have 3 or 4 teams out there, 2 from California right now, Nebraska, and that's not counting your Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas teams that should be here too, so hopefully it'll turn out good.
That's serious business.
They travel for it.
Good.
They're fun to watch, the
Yeah,
cloggers. Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Item 9 is passed. Item 10, Miami Housing Authority pilot payment. Jeff?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Just as some background, PILOT stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes. And housing authorities who receive a large appropriation of funds from HUD, Housing and Urban Development Department, receive this additional payment that they're authorized to remit to local governments in the communities that they're served as a payment in lieu of taxes. And the city of Miami, on an annual basis, usually receives about $17,000. And if you have been watching the news and keeping an eye on what's going on in Washington, D.C., you would know that there's this talk of this thing called a sequester, where automatic budget cuts are going to be implemented, and the Housing Authority is anticipating that they're going to be greatly reduced in the amount of funds that they receive from Washington moving forward for the operation. So they are requesting the city to waive the pilot fee for this year. They also want to have an ongoing discussion with them in the event, with the city in the event that this appears to be an ongoing issue. And we would have normally probably put something like this on the consent calendar, but I wanted to also make the comment that this isn't the only agency that's been reaching out to the city recently seeking funding assistance because of the sequester. And, watching these things on television and watching members of Congress argue and posture over this, there's a lot of things that are going on, a lot of fear-mongering, with things that we refer to in the bureaucrat circles as the Washington Monument technique, where, the first thing that's going to get cut is Yellowstone or Washington Monument. I would like to point out that Senator Coburn has been doing a real fabulous job of combing through the budget and pointing out things that are really more questionable in the federal budget that could be looked at for cuts rather than attempting to reduce the amount of funding that low-income people have for paying for housing. So that being said, Your Honor, staff would recommend a one-time waiver of the pilot fee from the Housing Authority so that they can deal with the federal budget crisis.
Questions, gentlemen?
We don't know that this cut is gonna happen yet. We're just, or they don't know. They're anticipating, or they've been informed that it's happening.
They've been informed that unless Congress changes dramatically or comes to a solution quickly, that the cuts, I think, start on April the 1st. Is that the correct date? There's some informed members in the audience, I'm sure, that know the date. I think it's April the 1st, which you don't have another meeting before now and then. Just as a follow-up on that, it is not uncommon for housing authorities to ask the municipality to waive this on an ongoing basis. There are a number of communities in the state that waive it regardless. The intent is to replace the loss of property taxes. Ironically, in Oklahoma, municipalities don't get property tax, so it's a payment that we just get. We generally pass it on to other social agencies when we fund our outside agencies' request.
David, do you have any comment on it?
Well, one of the options that's available, of course, is You could authorize a waiver, pending a determination of the sequester effects and revisit it. You could simply waive the fee, period, for the coming year. For example, I don't know that I understand it completely, but it seems like I heard on a radio program today that Congress had passed a continuing resolution for current spending levels. I don't know if that mitigated or affected the sequester. I simply don't know. It's hard to predict what's going to happen.
Further discussion?
The point, well, I'm ready to make a motion if there's no other discussion. I like the city attorney's phrasing of, in the event that the sequester does continue on its current course, we authorize the waiving of the payment in lieu of taxes. However, if there is a change,
Are you gonna put a date on that, Scott, April 1st, or, because I don't, without a date, I don't know how we would do a trigger, I guess.
How much are we talking about?
$17,000, give or take.
I mean, I would, if you wanna do that with the date of April 1, I would second that.
let's do that then. Let's make the motion then. In the event that the funding mechanism for the Housing Authority does not change before April 1st, we waive the payment in lieu of taxes for this calendar year, or this fiscal year.
I would second that.
Councilman Tressler.
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye. Item 10 has passed. Thank you. Item 11, other new business, if any, which has arisen since the posting of the agenda and could not have been anticipated prior to the time of posting, which is 25 OS 311-9. Other new business. Gentlemen, we've handled item 12, mayor and council community announcements already. Item 13, staff reports.
There were no reports, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mayor.
I have a question. Is it possible we could go back to the SUA before we went into executive session?
In fact, if this may be helpful, the executive session item was really there for your convenience. If you had questions about the correspondence I'd sent you, if you're satisfied and you don't have further questions at this point, or you think you could address them in direct communication with me outside of the meeting, then under those circumstances, I would not need an executive session. So if you did not want to have the executive session, I don't think you're going to be missing out on much news.
I'm okay with
Want
that.
to have anybody special here to present anything?
No, sir, we didn't have, they didn't make it up.
There's no news other than what I've already communicated to you.
Okay. So then we'll have no action on item 14, executive session. And move down to item 15.
Motion to
Correct.
adjourn, Mayor.
Second.
Second.
Did you say it, Scott?
Neil.
Neil.
Neil and Joe.
Okay, Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit.
Aye.
Councilman Tressler.
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye, all ayes, so we are adjourned at 6:41 on the city council meeting.
We-
And
25 minutes.
we'll go back to the special utility. And do we need a motion to,
You can simply declare that you've reconvened.
Yep.
As the presiding officer.
6:41 PM, we've officially reconvened the Special Utility Authority
6:41.
meeting. So I believe we were on item 5 when we recessed, so we're back in session now. Automation of solid waste residential and commercial routes. Tyler and Jeff. Hi, Tyler.
How's it going?
Good. Tyler was with me today when we were on KGLC.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Excellent job.
Thank you. So I'm here to present on an idea to look at for automating the solid waste pickup of the residential routes. So I'll go ahead and get started. The new way that we're presenting running the residential routes. Currently we run rear loader trucks, and we're looking at doing automated side loader trucks. So this is the old way. You can see the gentleman on the back They're right on the back, hold on. The new way we're proposing is the automated side loader trucks. So you pull up, it pulls up beside your trash receptacle, picks it up, and dumps it into the container. And we have a presentation of this happening.
There's a joystick he had in his left hand?
Yes, sir. So you need to remember in this that instead of having two or three people on the truck, you just have one guy on the truck driving and operating it all.
You know, I immediately see a benefit right here, and I don't know if you've got these figures available, but anytime that you're lifting and moving heavy objects around, whether it be the residential carts or the commercial carts, et cetera, you know, there's potential for injury. Do we have any idea of...
Yes, sir. The city of Edmond, from talking with them, they reduced their workman's comp claims by 3/4.
That's very significant.
So the truck, one of the trucks that we were looking at, it's actually 18 inches off the ground. So it's actually reducing the operator having to climb up into the truck.
And that's a pickup between two parked vehicles.
Yes, sir.
You take one truck?
Do what, sir?
How many trucks?
We're proposing, which I'll show in my slide in a minute, of purchasing 3 trucks. So here's the new truck, like I said, and the model that we were looking at, the cab would actually be lower to the ground. The operation of the automated truck, as you can see it from the video, the driver pulls up operates the joystick, reaches the arm out, which arms are anywhere from 10 to 12 foot. The arm for that truck was 12 foot long. It can reach out there. It grabs it, retracts it back, dumps the container, and then places it back in the same location. Since the truck's automated, if all goes well, they shouldn't have to ever leave the cab. Cities are using automated trucks. If you Google state of Oklahoma automated trucks, it's amazing all the different cities that are currently going to this. Stillwater, they've been very, very helpful. They are currently transitioning over to automated trucks. Edmond, they're huge. They said they haven't looked back since they went to it. They currently run 10 automated side loader trucks, and each one of their trucks picks up 1,100 carts a day. Claremore, they're currently transitioning over. Tulsa, there's an article in the Tulsa World about they just recently contracted out their trash pickup. They contracted with New Solutions, and they have on some of these automated trucks. The positives of the automated truck. So you have a reduction in personnel on the truck. So instead of having 2 or 3 personnel on the truck, you would just have one that would drive and operate and everything. Safety. All the cities, that was one of their main things, is safety. There's no longer anyone riding on the back of the truck. They're all in the cab. Workman's compensation claims, like I said, were greatly reduced. The weight of the truck. So currently our trucks on a single axle weigh 30,000 pounds. These trucks empty weigh around 35,000 pounds with 2 axles. So you're having 17,500 pounds per axle. So we're in the process of redoing all these roads. These trash trucks will help increase the life of our roads because there'll be a lot less weight traveling on them. And increased efficiency. 1,100 trash cans in a day is pretty good for one truck.
What are we typically doing now?
I'm trying to think. Scotty told me, but I was trying to think what. 1,500 for three of our residential trucks, correct?
So 3 trucks to do an similar amount.
500 each a day.
It's double.
The negatives. Every city that has done this, they pass an ordinance or do something so that prevents people from parking on the side of the street when the trash is being picked up for that day. A lot of them said they've worked with different people. They've set up locations where, okay, people say that they don't have a place to park their car. Well, they'll put a sign, put your container here. 3 or 4 residents will put their container right there at that one location so that they still have a place to park and they can still get their trash picked up.
By the way, just as a comment, you do not want to put it next to your mailbox. I learned the hard way, it'll pop a mailbox right out of the ground.
Tyler, what are we going to do about yard waste?
We'll talk about that in a minute. So, the bag trash, different cities are doing different things on the bag trash. Obviously, these arms would not be able to pick up the bag trash. But a lot of cities are selling like city issued bags. So you buy a city issued bag for anywhere from $1.50 to $2.50 per bag. You call it in, say, hey, I have 3 bags, buy my container. And they drive by and pick them up. Another thing that cities that are doing, and I think is a great idea, they're charging people, $8, $9, $10 a month for an extra trash receptacle, so that if you have more trash than what your trash container can hold, you can get another trash container, and so then you're just making it more efficient. The cost, the current rear loader trucks run us around 150 to 160,000. Automated side loaders are between 270,000 and 240,000. So there is a noticeable cost difference.
What's the life expectancy of these side loader trucks?
They like Edmund, they operate theirs between 7 and 8 years, and they change them out every 7 to 8 years.
How does that compare with our ones that we've got?
That'd be about the same.
That's
the cost of the truck. Currently, the automated trucks cost $240,000. On my next slide, I have a bid from the city of Claremore. They recently did. Theirs was approximately a little less than $240,000. If you take, Lindsay helped me with this, if you take one solid waste employee minimum with their salary and benefits, you're talking around $37,500. If you take this truck will last 6 years times that salary, you're looking at $225,000. If you say, okay, there's 2 guys riding on the truck, then that would be $450,000. So you would have pretty much a reduction in 2 salaries for this one truck.
These are hard cost reductions. I mean, the workers' comp isn't calculated into this.
This is the city of Claremore's bid. It's hard to see, but this was kind of the one we thought if we went this route, we could piggyback off this. And for what they have, they're super happy with these trucks that they have.
So what do we do with the employers that this truck's going to replace?
I have a slide to talk
Okay.
about this too. So proposed purchase. So we can purchase 3 automated trucks at a total cost of $720,000. So if we borrowed $720,000 over 5 years at 2.89%, we're looking at $12,902.29 monthly payment. For a year, you're having $154,000, and then for the total payment, you're looking at $774,137.40. That's interest and all over the 5 years. If you take that divided by the average salary, you're looking at that's about what 4 employees cost. It's about 4.1 actually what it comes out to be. So how do we afford these trucks? So we could lease purchase these trucks, like I said on my last slide, using the 2.89%, or we could buy the trucks outright from the SUA funds that we currently have. If from affording this, the way I look at it is, which I have on the next slide, we have, in 2012, we had 17 full-time employees. Currently, we have 13 full-time employees. After yesterday, they have 12, and then possibly someone else may take their retirement that's still in consideration. You're looking at 11. So right there, we've made up the money to purchase these trucks, just in people that we've lost from attrition, early retirement, just in salaries. We think if we went to these trucks, then we could possibly operate with 10 full-time employees. And we, as Mr. Bishop has discussed, we're doing the job pooling and everything. So if they ever got a heavy trash week, we could send another person out to help with that, or 2, just depending on what was needed. And like I said, we could also use money from the solid waste carryover fund to help pay for these trucks. Current residential routes. Currently, we run 3 trucks with 2 to 3 employees on each. They usually have 2 employees, but sometimes they do have 3. And they empty approximately 6,000 containers. So these are residents that have single and double containers. On Fridays, we have 2 trucks with 2 employees each picking up yard waste. So like you were asking about, Neil. What we're proposing is we'll have the 2 automated trucks picking up 750 containers each, which Edmund does almost 1,100. So this should be pretty, we should be able to do this with some training. Stillwater sends their employees to a VOTEC for training. And they made the comment that they have people apply all the time to come drive one of these trucks because they are so animated and everything. And then Fridays, we would actually have our customers call in for yard waste pickup instead of just driving the town like we currently do.
How many pickups do we have in the town? How many?
How many containers or?
Containers do we pick up?
We had like 5,000 residents that had single containers, and then we came up with 6,000 with people that have 2 containers.
And we can do 1,000 a day per.
We can do 750 per truck per day, so we're looking at 1,500 per day with the 2 trucks running.
But why would we need 3 trucks?
In case one of them broke down, we could go to the other truck.
Wouldn't they have warranty? New vehicles warranty?
They would.
They're offline.
Yeah, it was just that was their main concern to other cities. They always had a backup in case of breakdowns.
Just trying to extend the life of the trucks by rotating them.
Yes, sir.
in
We,
and
we
out.
would put them into a rotation basis to where we would be working them in and extending the life.
Because so much of the maintenance is on that arm that reaches in and out. A lot of the different companies suggested we have a backup truck, so one truck will be getting worked on while the other 2 are.
Would the company, within the lease or purchase, offer a backup truck if needed?
That they never really said any. They have never been. They have offered to come down and train our mechanics that would be working on this, but they haven't offered to provide a backup.
Kind of like a loaner.
For example, I know Claremore. Their bid went out last year, and they still haven't got their truck because these trucks are so being purchased so much right now.
I've seen companies do that.
Yes, sir.
If you have trucks and you have it through them, and there's something within a certain period of time that breaks or it goes down, they will replace that truck and bring it and fix it and
Advanced replacement.
Is that with a maintenance agreement,
Yeah.
Joe?
maintenance or lease. And you depends on how you work it on if you buy it. Work it in if you buy it.
Okay, that is something that we could check into. And the neat thing about this is I want to stress is that these people have already left from early retirement, from attrition, just everything. So it wouldn't be anyone would be moving to a different location or anything. It would just be with what we currently have.
What Tyler's trying to say is no pink slips.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
What, and for further, I guess you just won't rehire to replace some of
Yes,
these
sir.
people if we're able to do this.
That's correct.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to fill probably at least one of the positions.
What we hope to do in the interim is we'll be using the pooled labor, rotating in some other folks to help out with solid waste until such time as we can move to the automated system.
Well, whatever happens, I think going to the call-in on Fridays is something we need to do regardless. I mean, that's very inefficient for us to be driving the whole town for yard waste.
Is that, Tyler, is there a difference between people, you explained this to me the other day, if people don't rent another container, potentially they could call in and buy bags, and the price of the bag
Would pay for them to send out somebody to pick up the bag and dump it.
And does that apply to yard waste as well? Or
No, that was just for extra, just regular trash.
how much does an extra container cost a customer now?
I believe it's $8 or $9.
Is that right, Scott?
And the yard waste, would that still be the same program of the bundles? People
Yes,
have
sir.
to-
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
we didn't look at.
Okay.
I think the advantage on the buying of the bags is if a consumer isn't utilizing 2 receptacles year-round, but only on a periodic basis, they save.
Yes,
having to
sir.
Pay that monthly fee all year for that second container.
And if they don't have a pickup truck or a trailer and don't want to haul it down to solid waste, that gives them another alternative.
I think, I can see the calculations that you've done, Tyler, and I do believe there's a manpower savings. I think the more significant issue, or at least as significant an issue, is the safety and work comp claims and all of that. It's a little hard to put a hard dollar cost on it, but that's a significant issue that we need to
Yes, sir.
keep in mind. Even, I guess my point is, even if we were exactly break even on personnel, trucks and everything, that benefit alone is a significant one.
City manager, anything to add?
Well, I think on that same vein, the one thing that we really wanted to reiterate is the number of axles on the truck. And weight is the arch enemy of roads, especially roads that have difficulty with base. So these new trucks distribute that weight much more favorably than our current trucks do.
And if you can do it for the same or less money and avoid, number one, injuries, but also liability, that's great.
I think it's a great idea. I just don't know if we need 3. I don't think we should cut ourselves 25% on the pickup if, or more than 25% if another city is getting 1,100 and just say we can do 750. I mean, that's, if it can be done, I mean, of course, you gotta look at how they're set up too. I
Yes, sir.
understand the cars in the road.
And
so
there's
forth
will be a lot of
so on.
education to this. And I mean, as we would improve on this, then we could look at changing routes, doing things, faster. I was just trying to use conservative estimates on everything.
And also, Trustee, we would be able to reuse all of the containers we have now. Our containers are designed to be able to be utilized by these type of vehicles.
So when you came up with the number 750, you weren't setting a quota or a policy, that was just a
conservative estimate as far as starting out. I mean, we haven't used these. There'll be some streets that will probably be slow picking up because of the street design layout.
But there's not necessarily any reason why, if the SUA goes this way, that they couldn't run the same 1,100 that another city runs.
Yes, sir.
And with that case, it would be shouldn't be an issue with two trucks.
No, sir, no, this is a very conservative-based estimate. We could probably even get more generous with some of the cost savings, but we wanted to approach you with the subject, see what your thoughts were. We can refine it and bring it back to you at your next meeting.
Again, I like it. I like it. I mean, I like what you're looking at.
Would you like us to look into the possibility of, again, for lack of a better term, I'll say a loaner program, see if that's available?
I think you should ask. I mean,
Okay.
there's a number of different companies that I've talked to from a personal standpoint that will, that I've dealt with that do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
If you can't do that, then we have to look seriously at the third truck, simply because if you have one of those arms go down and it takes 4 or 5 days to fix it, and you don't pick up trash for 4 or 5 days, you got an issue.
Well, we could run one truck, 2 shifts in a day. I mean, that would be inconvenient for our residents, but, in a fix, we could just extend the number of hours that we're collecting.
For example, on the backup truck, Edmund runs 8, and they have 2 backup trucks. They're looking at purchasing a 3rd backup truck just so they can keep the wear and tear down on the arms.
Is there a mean time between failure that's included in the statistics that gives you an idea how frequently they either have to be maintained or are likely to require maintenance?
Just from talking to the different vendors, first 3 years everything is good no matter if you maintain them or not. But then 3 through 6 where if you don't maintain them, that's where you have your issues. If you do maintain them, then they usually have a good life expectancy. But if you're not rotating them out, working on them, keeping everything greased, lubricated, then that's when you do start to see your issues in years 3 through 6, 3 through
I
7.
think, given that, another alternative we should consider then is starting out with 2, with the understanding that maybe in year 3, we may have to look at a 3rd truck and then start bringing them on some sort of rotation. But to Joe's point, we need to find out if there's a maintenance plan or whatever, some way to have a backup available to us. And I understand your point that it's taken a year to deliver them, and so having a commitment for a backup may not be feasible.
And if it would be some interest to you guys, the contractor that got the Claremore bid, which we would look at piggybacking off of, he said whenever their truck gets ready, he could bring it down here and demo it for us. And
I don't need to see the truck.
What do they run? Are they diesel, compressed natural gas?
Diesel. They're diesels. It's a Mack frame and chassis with like a new, that truck on the video and the truck for the Claremore bid was with the New Way bed and trash compactor.
Do you get any cut in price? You buy 2 or 3?
No, sir. Actually, we like the Claremore bid because it was quite a bit cheaper.
It's 30,000 less. That's why we were hoping, from a time being of the essence, that we could piggyback off of that bid because it's the best bid we've seen on these trucks of the communities that we've polled.
And what's the time frame on that, Jeff?
We would probably want to do it by your next meeting. But your policies allow you to piggyback off of another community's bid.
Okay, any further discussion?
Since it's a discussion item only, I'm assuming,
Yes, trustee, it's just
but in the April meeting, we could have an item to make a decision?
We will bring it back to you in the format for a decision at your April meeting. We'll give you some options.
So
we need
can
to
you
table.
run through real fast what we've authorized you to do?
Haven't authorized me to do anything, sir.
Well,
I'm just going to bring it back to you at a later meeting.
yep, with some of the answers to some of the things that we brought up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Okay. Any further discussion on 5? If not, we'll go to item 6. In-kind services provided by the city and authority for Miami Community Facilities Authority Multipurpose Center Project. Jeff?
Yes, Your Mr. Chairman, I can remember which meeting I'm in. The budget that we developed for the Red Robertson Field contained a amount of money for undergrounding and relocating of utilities. Since that time, we have been working with bond counsel. We've discovered that the issuance cost is going to be a little bit higher than we had originally anticipated in the project budget. And we've also decided that we want to look at hiring an owner's representative, and in particular Oklahoma State University's facility staff who have built numerous facilities like this, Lewis Field and different practice facilities around Oklahoma State. In order to do that, we've been looking at ways of saving money in the project budget. One of those areas is this utility line item that we had in there. We have discovered that we will not need to relocate the water line. We will not need to relocate the sewer line. And the initial estimate for undergrounding the electric utility is a little bit less than what we'd originally anticipated. We also know that the frequency of the use of the facility is expected to increase dramatically, and we know that based on the size of the lights that are going in and the other electronics, that our load is going to be higher. So staff is requesting authorization to provide the undergrounding of the services to the customer in anticipation of future revenues. I think our estimate now is it's around 200,000. Is that right, David?
No, sir. The equipment will be about 125 to 140,000.
Okay. So we had in the budget 339,000. So we're down to that amount, and then we're requesting authorization to extend those services to the customer in anticipation of future load.
Did you say the equipment
Yes,
or just the force manpower?
The original budget that Crosslands has done was about 330,000. Is that what it was?
349, I believe.
Yes,
Okay.
and that include the equipment and the digging, the construction, putting it all underground. And I'm supposed to meet with Crosslands again tomorrow morning, and we're going to go back through everything and come up with what their cost is going to be. Our cost, we know what it is. It's I'm going to tell you 125 to 140,000. I think it's going to be less than that, but I don't want to say that yet because it's changed a little bit. The only unknown is going to be the digging of it. If they get too high, I'm going to get with Joe and see if we can do some of the digging ourselves.
We would retain ownership of all of the infrastructure too, sir. So this isn't the interior lines.
No,
this
is
is
our
just,
distribution system.
and clearly within our authority to do this work.
Well, I know that, having been involved in some of these meetings, having the OSU owner's rep on our team is going to really be a good thing. I mean, these guys know what they're doing, and it protects the taxpayers, I think, in a very meaningful way. And so if this is necessary to help make that happen, then I think I'm in favor of it.
Do we have your motion?
Well, I don't know if there's any questions or discussion. If there's not, I'll certainly make a motion.
We're saying that it's gonna be less than what we thought.
The overall costs are less than what we thought, and then we're also asking for it to be in kind. In other words, the utility authority would pick up the cost of extending services to the facility. And that frees up that entire component of the budget to cover the bond issuance costs and the cost of hiring Oklahoma State University's long-range facility planning department to be are representative on the project.
I think it's fair to say, and I could be wrong, but I want to make sure I'm right, that you're being asked to maintain the current contribution as set forth in the budget, but also to authorize these in-kind services. And the purpose is to leverage additional funds into the project to cover, in part, the cost of hiring OSU as the owner's rep. I think that's what's going on.
That's the way I understand it.
I would second Trustee Schultz's motion.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Mr. Sharbit?
Aye.
Chairman Catcher?
Aye. All ayes. Item 6 is passed. Moving to item 7, 2013 spring cleanup to be held May 2013. Scotty? How you been doing?
Been doing fine, sir.
Good.
Good evening, gentlemen. In 2012, the City Council voted to continue the annual cleanup. Cleanup was held during the spring and fall of 2012. During both cleanups, citizens brought their material to the transfer station. We recommend the 2013 spring cleanup to follow the same guidelines as 2012. Spring cleanups where citizens brought their items free of charge to the transfer station during the cleanup. For 2013 spring cleanup to be held, the dates we have chosen is May 13th through May the 18th for the Northwest and Southwest, and May the 20th and May the 25th for the residents on the Northeast and Southeast side of town. So that is what the recommendation I'm presenting you all tonight on the cleanup.
Jeff, I think the past practice, don't you put a notice in the utility bills before this happens?
If we approve this, this will give Amber, we've checked with her, gives her ample time. There's 4 cycles that go through, and everybody will have adequate time to receive their letter in the mail, which we'll run in the paper, we'll run it on the marquee, but this lets all the citizens receive it in their utility bill. Neil?
Okay.
Any other questions? Motion to approve?
I would like for us at some point to get back to where we can try to help some of our residents that don't have trucks and maybe are elderly and getting items at the solid waste department. I know that's how we used to do it, and we would like to do that again at some point. I don't know that right now is the time, so I would second the motion.
Mr. Sharbit?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Chairman Catcher?
Aye. That motion has passed also. On item 7, item 8, Mandy Brown and Ashley Huff request utility bill adjustment. Good evening, ladies.
Can we get this down with us?
But introduce yourselves.
I'm Ashley Huff.
I'm Mandy Brown.
We have a $3,000 some odd dollar water bill from a leak that we'd had. I'm guessing it would be in from January to February because they're a month behind, and they lowered it. They halvened it down to $1,900, I believe, and I was going to see if there's any way possible that we can get it any lower than that.
The
The leak had happened. Sorry, the leak had happened over by the meter. There was over by the road where the meter's at, and there was two parts in the pipes where it was broke. And I don't know if we can get it any lower than that.
Was it not obvious to you that there was a leak?
No, the water had drained out. Our cars are parked up by our road, and I leave early in the morning, and I don't ever pay attention to where that's at. And so I don't know.
is it a rental property?
Yes, it's rental.
And
That's
Did-
our landlord.
sometimes there's a relationship between landlord and tenant, that, and I'm not trying to encourage you to do anything there. I just was curious.
You know what, I think a year or two ago, we passed an
You did.
ordinance. Can you describe that ordinance, David?
Well, staff might be able to. Surely there's somebody here on this one. I remember it. Essentially, while she comes forward, my recollection is that it gave management and staff about 50% leeway on their own discretion, but anything further would have to be approved by the board.
Yes, that's correct. Per policy, what we can do, once we've sent our technician back out to reread the meter to get the final reading and make sure it shows no leak, is we can credit back 50% of the additional water and 50% of the additional sewer. So in this particular situation, we were able to credit back $1,851.85.
So it was more like 3,600 originally.
Yeah, the total bill was actually going to be $3,765.74. And we were able to bring it down to $1,913.89.
I learned the hard way how little water it can take to run up a bill. Literally, a leaky flapper on a toilet can cost you $1,000.
Literally.
So what does the rest of our policy say, after you've done what you can do as far as staff?
Other than that, it just says that any request for adjustment other than as provided in the provision may be made only upon written application and hearing by the utility board.
And does it put a limit on the number of times for a request? For some reason, I have this memory that
Yes.
that there was one time.
Yes, one time per location. And this is the
Amber,
first time per location.
that's the water that was lost, since it didn't go into the sewer system or anything, we didn't have to do that. Is that figure taken into,
Yes, it used to simply be, we would credit back all of the excess sewer. Then when this was revised, it changed it to 50% of the excess sewer and 50% of the excess water.
Okay.
So, it's about the same figure as what it was before, it's just a different method of doing it.
yeah, I was thinking, since the water just went into the ground, we didn't have to treat it
Yeah.
like we have to.
So when we made that change, we really didn't think that part through probably as well as we should have, on the sewer, it sounds like.
Yeah, but some instances the water is going back in sewer, like a leaky toilet. This one did
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Because that's when we did the revision, it opened up for situations such as that, where if a flapper did distort and leak water through the toilet into the sewer system, then we could take into effect both water and sewer.
That policy, for example, and I don't know if it applies to the current scenario, says that if you have a plumber, a licensed plumber, make the repair, then staff can do the offset. Does that apply in any way to this case? Is there a requirement that a licensed plumber repair the line? Is the line replaced?
Yes, and that's what we do request, that we have that receipt of repair, which is what they've provided us. And then that's when we went forward with having it reread and making an adjustment.
Well, we certainly want to act in good faith. I kind of hate to just say, well, anybody could come up here and say, well, I just didn't notice the water when you've got all this water flooding away. And I think you have a duty as a resident to, when you see that big puddle, to say something in a timely manner.
David, what can we legally do?
You can make any adjustment that you think is appropriate. It's a policy determination, and that's why it's in front of you. The easier answers are the ones described by policy that staff abide by. Beyond that, it's purely at the discretion of the board. You have a duty as trustees to responsibly oversee the public utilities, to make defensible decisions that make sense, but you do have discretion.
Did you bring it to the city's attention as soon as you've seen it?
Yes, because what happens is, before I actually do my billing, before I actually produce and print those bills, I will go through, and if anything looks out of range, inconsistent, we'll take a look and see what's going on. So this definitely seemed out of range. We sent a technician back out to read the meter. It showed there was a leak, and immediately gave our customers a call. We moved on from there, kept in touch with my supervisor on the entire situation.
So how much money is the bill now?
It
What's the
is
bill?
total $1,913.89.
What would an average bill be at this location?
Average would run about $125.
For water or total bill?
Total bill.
Okay.
So that would
What-
include all the other services as well. Yes.
Electric included, or just,
Mhm.
what about the water and sewer?
Water, let me look here.
I've got this one too.
You have the one
I've
before.
got
That would be
the
perfect if you.
one that I just did. Cause this one was 85.94, altogether 94.56. After that,
Yeah,
so it
let
was
me
that.
open this up real quickly because it will have our figures.
Issues of equity moving forward for a precedent.
There.
Do you think we should?
Well, while they're looking at that, Mr. Chairman and board
On-
members,
I would say on average, their water bill would run about $30 to $35.
one of the tough things, and it is a tough thing going forward, is that people are going to look at your decision and say, well, the last people in here, this is how they were treated. And one of the things that you truly want to avoid is having it appear that your decisions are somehow arbitrary or capricious. I strongly encourage that if you make an equitable determination for an adjustment, that you come up with some kind of rationale that you could live with if it were quoted back to you in the future someday by someone else.
How much more of that on their bill was sewer, that we knew it didn't go down into the sewer?
That would have been,
Half.
Less than half.
Very good to have.
it's right at about another $835. I can get the exact figure for you, but
So if you took 800 off of the adjusted amount, what would be left?
About 11.
yes, $1113.89 if we took 800 off.
If that were to happen, is there an ability to set a payment plan?
With no interest?
I mean, we could definitely look to do that, you know, per your guidance.
Put them on an average for the year or something, and blend that into the average.
I mean, I can definitely work with them and do what.
Are they on average billing now?
No.
My point being that even if you reduced it, and if you did, by whatever amount, and it was still a substantial, burden on the customer because, well, we all have things go wrong sometimes, and it's expensive. You might have the option to let them pay out that amount. Now, the staff may or may not be in a position to do that. They have limitations, but you could consider that as well. But again, remember, whatever you do going forward, you can count on being read back to you on the next case.
And there would also be the consideration of late fees as well, because anything we carry would acquire a late fee.
Unless you said otherwise.
Unless we do away with it.
Well, I don't want to put late fees on top of it. So
No.
I don't personally.
You got any ideas?
Just the only thing is one of the last items the utility board had taken up recently was a gentleman who had a similar issue. He couldn't verify what his leak was like they can. Obviously, there was broken pipe. He did not have a source for it. He just knew he had an extraordinarily high bill. May have been potential of utility theft, etc. But the utility board, just simply because there was nothing that they could do to say one way or the other where the water went, declined to make any adjustment.
And there's always the possibility, and again, I want to not go too far off in this direction, but in typical landlord-tenant law, the landlord has an obligation as to certain infrastructure items when they lease a property.
Can you explain again where the leak occurred? Because I wasn't really clear. No, I'd like for her to explain it, please.
Oh, for me to
If
explain
you
where the
can,
leak
yeah.
was, I am not certain.
Which
I know
side
it's
of
on
the, again, I guess you have the meter and it was just on the tenant side of the meter, is that?
Yeah, I was told it was on, the meter's right here and it was on this side.
Like closer to
It was
the
closer to
house?
the house,
It,
yes.
it would be on the customer side of the meter. If it were on the city side of the meter, then we wouldn't have a high reading. We would just have a loss. But being that it's on the customer side of the meter, then it goes through that meter, it raises the count, and we can tell exactly how much water.
You may want to
gone
ask
through.
if the landlord wanted to make a contribution.
How much you have to pay for repairs to it, Steve?
$125. And it was taken care of the very next day after we found out about it.
Dave, do you have any idea what caused it? I mean, is it?
Just rust. The pipe rusted. And it was right next to the ditch, and so it ran down the road and eventually ran into the river. So like I say, it did go down the sewer. But this went undetected for 30, 33 days, or however long it takes them to read the meter.
As
And
of
that's the bad part.
Yeah, as of the previous bill, it showed no leak at that time. It was within a regular usage amount.
This is a little off topic, but if we end up with this cable or the fiber, we'd be able to detect these
Yep.
abnormalities.
Almost
within-
immediately, wouldn't we, Amber?
Kind of like the wells, when we talked about the wells on that system.
Real-time data.
I would propose that we adjust the bill to an amount of $500 and that we spread that out over 12 months with no late fees.
Over how many
Ladies?
months?
Yeah, that'll work.
I'm sorry.
12 months.
Oh, okay.
You make that a motion? I'll second.
And we're looking at 500 for the entire bill. Is that correct? Or
For the water and sewer portion.
sewer?
Outstanding portion, I think is what he means. So,
Okay.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Sharbit?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Chairman Ketcher?
Aye. All ayes. That item is passed, the resolution of the ladies, and they were shaking their head in agreement. Okay. Maybe you can get Steve he'll take you out and buy you a steak.
At least supersize the fries.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies, for your appearance. Thanks, Amber. Item number 9, other new business, if any, which has arisen since the posting of the agenda and could not have been anticipated prior to the time of posting, 25 OS 311-9, the statutory authority. Any new business? None. We'll go to 10, trustee community announcements. Gentlemen, you have any announcements for the community?
I want to remind everybody that has grandchildren about the Easter egg hunt. We'll be on Saturday the 30th from 10 to 2 at the Miami High School practice field. I'll see
Do
you
you have
there.
a spoonbill announcement?
No, Joe's got it.
Joe, read the spoonbill announcement.
Okay.
Spoonbill Kickoff Celebration, Saturday, March 23rd, 2013, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Miami Review Park, west side of the river, under the blue and white canopy. There'll be hamburgers, hot dogs, grilled by the Miami Fire Department. Come join the community for fun, food, and giveaways.
And I think the police department's involved in that somehow too, isn't it? Aren't you, chief?
Yes.
Yeah, police department's involved in that too.
Police Department?
Yep.
In here too.
Any other community announcements?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the city has 10 mowing bids out for mowing throughout the community, so that if you know anybody who's in the mowing business, might check that out on our website.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? If none, we'll go to number 11, staff reports. Gentlemen, have any questions on your packets?
No, sir.
And 12 and 13 we've done or doing. 14, ratify resolution for Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund direct deposit and indemnity letter.
I'll make the motion, Mayor, to approve that.
Second.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Ketcher?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Sharbit?
Aye.
All ayes. Gentlemen, that has passed also. Item 14. Item 15, ratify mayor's signature and ordinance amending ordinance 1603 to correct Scriver errors within the ordinance.
Motion to approve.
Scrivener.
Second.
Mr. Charbit?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Chairman Catcher?
Aye. All ayes. Item 14 is passed. 15. And item 16, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Second.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mr. Tressler?
Aye.
Mr. Charbit?
Aye.
Chairman Catcher?
Tyler?
Aye.